And now let's look at a new chapter, that is homeostasis and the human urinary system. Now let's look at the first subtopic, that is on homeostasis. So homeostasis is the regulation of physical and chemical factors of the internal environment within the normal ranges for the cell to function in optimum conditions. So what is actually physical and chemical factors, and what is actually internal environment? Okay, internal environment actually refers to the environment that is in our body. Okay, so the physical and the chemical factors. So let's look at the physical factors. Examples are temperature, osmotic blood pressure, and blood pressure as well. And the chemical factors are pH value, concentration of the minerals, and blood sugar concentrations. So these factors have to be regulated to ensure that the internal environment, which is the environment in our body, to function well. Okay, so any deviation from the normal range will trigger a homeostatic mechanism which involves negative feedback. So homeostasis is a process that is important to regulate the internal environment in order for it to be in a constant state, okay, despite the external environment that changes a lot. Okay, this is very important so that the cell activity can function at the optimum level. Okay, you know that for all these metabolic activities to function, there has to be an optimum temperature, for example, or otherwise the functions or the physiological process of the body will not function well. So in homeostasis, a factor that exceeds normal range has to be brought down to the normal range, and a factor that falls below the normal range has to be increased to the normal range. Now this is it. Let's look at if deviation happen, and this is the normal range. Deviation means if it goes above or below the normal range. So this regulatory system, which is the homeostatic mechanism, will work to always ensure that the factor value is always maintained at this normal range. So the organ system and involved in maintaining an optimal internal environment. So in the body, various organ systems function and interact with each other to maintain an optimum internal environment. So we'll be looking at the body temperature, the blood sugar level, the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, as well as the blood pressure. Now regulating the body temperature. Maintaining body temperature at a fixed range is important because the cell metabolism are catalyzed by enzymes, and you know that enzymes has to function at optimal levels. If it is too high, what will happen to the enzymes? It will be denatured. But if it is too low, then the metabolic activity of the cell is being slowed down. Maybe even the process cannot be carried out. So these changes in the body temperature are detected by the thermoreceptors, which is in the skin, and the hypothalamus. Okay, do you still remember the hypothalamus in the brain? Now this is it. If the body temperature rises above normal, it will be detected by the thermoreceptors, be it in the hypothalamus, okay, which is the temperature control center in the brain, or the thermoreceptors in the skin. So there will be regulation of the body temperature by the effector, and these are by physical means. Okay, this has to happen so that the temperature is being brought to the normal level. Okay, and this is regulation of body temperature by effectors by chemical means, chemical methods. So in other words, the action of hormones. Okay, this is physical methods, the action of the integumentary system. Okay, and you have to be able to explain in it the details, the process that happens. For example, in the skin, okay, in the skeletal muscles, what are the changes or what are the regulations that will have to happen in order to bring this body temperature to the normal level. Okay, how if the body temperature drops below the normal range? Also, it starts with the detection by the thermoreceptors, okay, in the hypothalamus, also in the skin. Okay, temperature drops, that means in a cold condition. So what are the regulation of the body temperature that has to happen? So you get to see when we are cold, the fine hair will stand, isn't it? It is because the erector muscles will contract, and this will act as an insulator to prevent loss of heat from the skin. Okay, how about the arterioles? Will there be vasodilation or constriction? And how about the sweat gland? Will sweating happen? And sometimes when we are cold, our body will shiver. And this is actually the action of the skeletal muscles contracting and relaxing. So these are the regulation by effectors through physical methods. Also, we have the regulation through chemical methods. Regulation of body temperature by effectors through chemical methods. And this is by means of hormones. Okay.